Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So, unfortunately, there was a situation that went viral just recently. A young mother by the name of Tateona Williams is unfortunately grieving because she lost two of four of her children due to her unfortunate circumstances. Now, to give some background on what happened, Tatiana Williams allegedly was taking care of multiple members of her family. If I'm not mistaken, she had four children. There were multiple news media outlets that were reporting on this, and some of the information concerning the family members that she was taking care of was a little bit different. But from what I can understand, she had four children. Her mother, if I'm not mistaken, and possibly two teenage siblings, I'm not really sure about that particular detail, who she was all taking care of by herself. They were living out of her van. Now, this young mother is living in Detroit. We all know how cold it gets in the winter. I believe that woman did the best that she could with what she had. Now, she contacted the services that you're supposed to contact if you are homeless or if you're having issues of that nature, to try and get to a place that's safe, that's warm. They did not have, allegedly, the provisions that they could accommodate her with, allegedly. I'm going to say that a lot because we have these so-called facilities that are supposed to help people like this young woman, and they dropped the ball. They dropped the ball this time. They dropped the ball a lot of times. When that did not work out, she tried to call the father of two, if not three, of her four children to try and see if he would take them so that they could at least be somewhere warm and not inside the car until she could figure something out and get them back. Now, there was a lot of going back and forward, but again, everybody can see this situation for what it is. This young woman spoke to the news media outlets, talked about how she called the father of her children, two or three, if I'm not mistaken, of her four children. She let him know, I need you to take the kids for a little bit. This raggedy behind man proceeds to say, because the news media outlets did contact him for his side of the story, if you will, well, you calling me to tell me I need you to take the kids and you need me to take the kids because you're homeless is two different things. And there are a lot of people going in on him on TikTok, on YouTube, etc., saying that she should not have had to tell you that she was homeless and that's why she needed you to take the kids. If she's calling you, that means she needs your help. You're their father. You should be willing to help them. Now, some people were trying to argue that she might have wanted him to take all of the children. We don't know that information. But she called him, and we know that she called him because she said that she called him to take his kids, and he refused to do it. Which, if you ask me, that should be a negligence charge, a parental negligence charge, but we're going to keep moving on for now. That woman exhausted every option she had, and nobody helped her. And the saddest part about this is she said, even out of her own mouth, whenever they were interviewing her, she admitted, I have prideful issues sometimes. I don't like asking people for help. But she humbled herself to be able to help her children. She said that she worshiped the ground that her children walked on, that she loved her children very, 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 very much, and that she would do anything to make those kids' lives more comfortable the best that she knew how. She said, I made sure my children were not hungry. I did what I had to do. We might have not had a house to be in, but I made sure something was over their head. I made sure they had some kind of clothes on their backs. I made sure they had some kind of food to eat. I did the best that I could. But she, even not wanting to ask anybody for help, which I can understand why, because when you do, unfortunately, this is the kind of ways they respond. Imagine you not wanting to ask somebody for help. And it's not just about pride, it's about the trauma of you asking for somebody to help you or asking somebody to help you and them either using it against you, using it to take advantage of you. This is stuff that happens to people in real life. But like I said, she looked past all of that and said, I'm still going to ask somebody because this is about my children, not about me. And then when she did that, nobody helped her. None of the people who she reached out to helped her. Even the people with the city who she reached out to, they were supposed to call her back. Allegedly, that's actually what they're supposed to do as an organization. Even if they couldn't take her in, even if they didn't have the provisions to accommodate her, they were supposed to contact her back to check on her to make sure she was okay. They did not do that. She ended up parking in the parking lot of a casino garage where she allegedly ran out of gas. And unfortunately, the investigators and police, they believe that her children essentially passed away from hypothermia. She brought them to the hospital after she discovered that they were no longer breathing, and this is what they assume happened. Now, allegedly, they're supposed to be conducting an investigation to actually make sure of that, but that's just what they assume because of the horrendous temperatures of Detroit and because allegedly she had ran out of gas while she was in the parking lot and it was very cold. Now let's go back to this raggedy behind excuse for a father that these children had the misfortune of having. She said how every time she tried to contact him to get those kids, he always had an excuse. Oh, he was working. He was at the gym. Some other woman was around. That shows you where his concern, where his heart really was. His heart was never for those children. And it's crazy because those were his children as well. He didn't care about those kids at all. That shows you where his concerns were, where his priorities were. Because I have friends who grew up in the hood. I have a friend who grew up in the hood. They didn't have a whole lot. Him and his siblings didn't have a whole lot. Their parents were divorced. They were separated. But his father made sure he had him and his siblings when it was time for him to have him and his siblings. His mother didn't have to beg his father to come and pick them up. She didn't have to tell them, I'm going through it right now. I need you to come get these kids just for a moment until I can get back on my feet or get myself back together. His father went and got them because he loved them enough and respected their mother enough, despite them not being together, because that was the mother of his children, to go and get his children and take care of his children. He put them kids and my friend in the house and said, I'm finna go to work. I'm gonna lock this door. Y'all better not open it for anybody. Don't answer the door. Don't answer the phone. And don't break nothing in here, because if y'all do, I'm gonna break y'all's behind. And they listened to him and did exactly what he told them to do. So that guy had no excuse to do what he did. He had no excuse to not go and get his children. And the lack of empathy that he had, not just towards those children, but the mother of his children, was disgusting. There are a lot of people calling that out too. When the news media outlets, the interviewer asked him, okay, what are you going to do moving forward? How are you going to, handle this moving forward? Something like that, etc. This man really fixed his raggedy mouth to say, oh, it don't matter no more, basically. That it don't matter because they're already gone. Like I said, absolutely disgusting. Like, it's giving psychopath. It's giving devoid of emotion, even towards the people who you should have the most of it for, like your own children, the mother of your child. Anybody who lacks that much empathy needs to be looked into. They need to be investigated. I'm going to just be real honest with y'all. Once again, I still believe he needs to be charged with parental negligence. I don't care what anybody says. He knew that she was homeless, or he at least knew she was struggling and she needed help. She needed his help with their children. And on top of that, talking about the lack of empathy for him, again, to fix his raggedy mouth to say, oh, she needs to cut the sob story because she's crying and mourning the loss of 2 children that she birthed into this world and did everything she could to take care of. And without his help, he's a disgusting human being for that, like I said before. And he needs the kind of help and deliverance from his lack of empathy. That mindset that he got, that got him out here talking like that, he needs deliverance. Now, going back for a short moment to how even society, the government failed her. There were even allegedly government officials who did an interview basically stating that they messed up. That those people were supposed to contact her back, and to their knowledge, we all know now, of course, they did not, even though they were supposed to. And had they, maybe those children would still be with us. There have been a lot of people using this situation to bring up the whole relationship dynamic between men and women. That a lot of times in the community, just in general, the children, the responsibility of taking care of the children often gets solely left up to the woman. In the eyes of society, they basically say, oh, well, you had the child, so you should take care of him. And they absolve the men, the father, of all of their duties as a father. They make it okay that men don't have any involvement with these children. Then we'll turn around and talk about single mothers like a dog and make it seem like every single mother kept the guy who was the father from seeing the children. When really the reality for 9 out of 10 of these situations, 9 times out of 10, it's just the fathers don't want to be there at all. this is the truth, and people have got on social media and lied about what the truth actually is. And we know that it's the truth because of the mindset of men like this one right here. Society would not have men like that if what I said was not the truth. The proof is in the pudding. It speaks for itself. We understand, and I've said this multiple times on this channel myself, that everybody has to be very careful who they get involved with, who they fall in love with, who they have children with. But we're not going to sit up here and act like manipulation does not happen. Abuse does not happen. Some people have children, guess what? Because they were assaulted, unfortunately. Some people were manipulated, unfortunately. But it would seem like in society sometimes they only factor that in when the man has been the one who went through the manipulation or the abuse. Once again, men like the raggedy behind father of her children would not be so comfortable in the mindset and the lack of empathy that he has, that a lot of other men share. We're going to be 100% honest about their children and the mother of their children if our society, if our black community did not encourage it. Now, I will say this also with that, him feeling like his responsibility as a father is just something he can throw in the trash because he don't want to be involved, because clearly he didn't care about his kids. Whenever they stand before God, them not wanting the children, them being mad because the woman kept the kid and didn't delete the baby in the womb, them not liking the mother of said child, although they thought enough to lay down with her and make a baby with her, none of that will be an excuse. Whenever he asks them, why didn't you be a father to the child you helped bring into this world? You laid down with her, didn't you? Without protection on, didn't you? You didn't want a child. You didn't want to be a father. Why were you out here laying down then? Why were you out here having unprotected, you know what, with women if you didn't want to be a father? There will be no excuses. He will not accept any of that as an excuse. You did what you did. There will be consequences to follow. You left your children out there to suffer. You will have to suffer consequences because you reap what you sow. If we actually taught that and put the fear of God back into our children, maybe some of these men out here wouldn't be out here doing some of this stuff. And I'm not trying to say that all women do everything right. I hate the lie that's promoted where people say, oh, women don't take accountability, when a lot of times that's just projection. Usually people who say that are projecting that. I hate that lie that is promoted and that stereotype that is slapped on all women because not taking accountability is an everybody thing. That's stuff that everybody has done, men and women. Although in this situation, this mother did everything she was supposed to do. She had these children, but she was busting her butt to take care of them. And unfortunately, nobody thought enough of her to help her. Again, including the father of her children, who had the other responsibility to help her with their children. There were some people on social media who also had some things to say. This one person on YouTube said, and I quote, "I have a family who wouldn't have helped me either. People are selfish. Please pray for this mom. She doesn't deserve this." End quote. Another person said, "This is heartbreaking," with the heartbreak emoji. End quote. Another person said, and I quote, "Bless her heart. So many people asking, why didn't the family get help? What help? Homelessness is growing at an alarming rate, and the U.S. does nothing to address it. It is shameful." End quote. And that's very true. What help? That question is very valid. What help? Remember, she went to everybody who she could, and nobody helped her. And it's sad that sometimes your own family members will not help you when you are really in need. But then when something tragic happens, everybody wants to be quiet and, oh, that's so messed up. Oh, don't say that now. You could have helped to prevent something like this from happening and you didn't do anything. Another person said, and I quote, "Not only her, but the other kids must be hurting too. They lost 2 of their siblings." End quote. And that's something that some people actually have not been thinking about. The children are mourning as well. Her mother, who would be the grandmother, is mourning as well. Another person said, and I quote, "The city claims we have resources, but all those so-called resources will either deny you or have you on a waiting list." Thank God I was able to figure things out on my own and pull myself out of my situation. Prayers for strength to the mother with a praying hands emoji and a heart emoji. End quote. And there have been people commenting that there are certain facilities or certain organizations that's supposed to help with this kind of stuff. They will have you on a waiting list. And I'm trying to wrap my head around that. I get that, like, they're spread thin. Not everybody is helping them with this. There's money that has to go into it. You know, a lot of this, I feel like the government could be doing more Although it's like the waiting list, like people are still falling by the wayside. People are still cold outside on the streets. A waiting list is not going to keep people from being homeless. That waiting list is not going to make people's struggles and what they're going through wait or put a pause on it. They still have to go through that, all while they're waiting. Another person on YouTube, a mother, commented talking about how she is a mother of 5 and her husband unfortunately passed away due to C-19. She said even while working 2 jobs, her family was in a very tough place. So this woman can explain and understand from experience how hard it is raising multiple children as a woman by yourself without the help of the father. And her husband was unfortunately deceased. That ninja was alive. This woman's, the father of her children, that ninja was alive and well, looking like he was well taken care of, looking like he was doing well off, and refused to lift a finger to help at all. She ends her comment by saying, and I quote, "I hope she finds peace and gets the help she needs," with a heart emoji, end quote. Another person said, and I quote, "Corporations are buying up homes and now rent and property values are through the roof. We have homeless people and empty houses. This world is cruel and sad," end quote. Another person said, and I quote, "I believe her when she said she reached out to the dad. He looked trifling. He not even showing emotions," end quote. Another person said, and I quote, "This woman asked you to get your kids and you said no. She shouldn't have to explain. You already knew they were all homeless. Praying for this woman and her kids," with the praying hands emoji," end quote. And can we just talk about briefly again this, oh, she had to tell me why I needed to get the kids in order for me to get the kids. That leads me to believe he wasn't going to get them anyways. He had no intentions. He didn't want to. And if the roles were reversed, they would be dragging women for filth talking about, oh, you're breaking a man down. You're breaking him down. You're breaking down his pride. You know, no man wants to explain that he's struggling. Like he shouldn't have to explain that. But it's okay to put a woman through that. The devil's a good liar. She should not have had to explain that situation to him for him to go get his kids. Which also goes along with what this person said, and I quote, "The father is an idiot and neglectful. If he was seeing his kids on a regular basis, he would know if they had a place to live or not. This sickens me," end quote. So again, if he had been a decent father at least and had been keeping up with them regularly, he claimed he had been FaceTiming them. But allegedly that was only like 1 or 2 times, I think within like a month or so or a month and a half ago. But if he had been keeping up with them regularly and not just FaceTiming them, but actually seeing them in person, he would know the situation that they were in. And he would know this is serious. I need to step up and do better as a father taking care of my children because I helped her get them here. So I need to do my part, help and keep them here. She did more than her part. She did more than what was expected of her as a mother. He was the one who failed, along with everybody else who she tried to reach out to who did not help her at all. Another person doubled down on all of this by saying, and I quote, "Whether she asked for him to get them, he should have got them or arranged for his family to keep them. I'm sure he knew," end quote. And it is very much giving. He knew what was going on. He just didn't care enough to do what was right. Another person said, and I quote, "The father pissed me off. Rest in peace to those babies." And another person under them said, "This is sad." Another person said, and I quote, "I feel like she did her best and looks like she was going through some type of depression for a while. I pray God keeps her safe and with strength during this difficult time," with the praying hand emoji and a heart emoji, end quote. Saying that we're praying for her is good, but we need to actually pray. I've done it before and I'm going to do it again in this video. God, in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, I pray that you help this young woman with the loss that she is experiencing right now, that you help her children with the loss of their siblings. I pray that you send the Holy Spirit to comfort them in this time of mourning and grieving. I pray that you help them understand that they can and will make it through this. With your help, God, I pray that you empower them to make it through this. God, I pray that you heal their broken hearts. God, I pray that you help her overcome the depression, the sadness, the grief. And I pray that you give her the strength to continue on, to not give up despite what has happened. And I pray, God, that you bless her with the provisions that she needs to continue taking care of her children. In the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, amen. Y'all all let me know what y'all think about all of this down in the comments below respectfully. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all all have a very blessed, beautiful, and safe day.